So interesting. When we used to write about Foxconn for years, the lead was always the manufacturer of iPhones, but now we've got Nvidia in there too.
I noticed that too. I was like,
we can see there's a little
the
bit
headline
of
is Nvidia.
Headlines Nvidia. So it's interesting because Apple is diversifying production, and this is intentional, just so you're aware. And they've got many other suppliers now and manufacturing partners, or CMs. You've got companies like Tata, Pegatron, Wistron, all these companies making phones in India and such. So the Foxconn's not the only game in town when it comes to building iPhones.
So you could hold two ostensibly identical models of a certain iPhone, and one could be made by Tata or Pegatron, and the other could be made by Foxconn?
Yes, and if Apple's doing their job correctly, you will not be able to tell them apart. In fact, if you were able to tell them apart, someone would have written about that by now. So
it's somewhere though on the phone or the box or something. Is it going to start saying?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Well, you have like assembled in India versus assembled in China on there, or assembled in Brazil. I guess I'm answering your question in a long-winded way. You're asking, what does it mean for Apple, the Foxconn results? Well, probably means a lot, but maybe doesn't mean as much as it used to, because they're not the only game in town.
I know we've talked with you about Apple moving a bunch of production to India, but it does feel like it was very quiet, very quiet. Tim Cook still keeping his kind of appearances with China. And then all of a sudden you were like, yeah, they can make all their iPhones in India for the United States.
Not all of them. Not all of them.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was really quiet.
It was quiet, but there's going to be the 20th anniversary iPhone. That would be end of 2027. You've got the Pro model iPhones. You've got the foldable iPhones. There's a lot of stuff. Like the hot stuff, they're not going to be able to make in India for a while.
Does Foxconn make stuff in India, or is that another company?
Foxconn does have a plant in India as well. So Foxconn is one of a few CMs in India that does iPhone production.
Okay.
And right now, I mean, the iPhone is, it's the biggest game in town for Apple, but it's not their only product. And right now, Foxconn and some of the other providers in India, they're really only making phones. And so when you want to build a Mac, you want to build an iPad, you want to build an Apple Watch, you're looking elsewhere. The one place I haven't mentioned is, the US. I don't anticipate anytime soon there being US manufacturing. Now, Tim Cook's going to tell Trump whatever he wants to hear, but the reality is that that's just not really feasible or possible. And by the way, part of me thinks that this India move is not the end game for Apple. I think it's going to continue to be one slice of the pie for iPhones. I don't think it's a long-term thing. Like, I think at some point you're going to see iPhones made in more places than just China and India. I think that they're going to be able to shift production based on tariffs and other circumstances, right? They need backup plans. God forbid India goes down, you're going to have to push everything to China. China goes down, you're going to have to pass everything to India. They both go down, you're going to have to pass everything to Brazil or another country, right? So it's about having backup plans.
So investments in the United States, we've talked with you about this before, that maybe what they might do is do some packaging manufacturing. Like, what will they do in the U.S.?
Yeah, so I just, remember, that was just a theoretical example I came up with. Like, what could they do in the U.S.? And they can build iPhone boxes, right? I think that's the point I was trying to make, is that, like, that's as technical as you're going to get from an engineering perspective of U.S. production. Paper boxes, right? Recycled paper boxes. You're not going to be able to make those intricate phones for a variety of reasons.
Who was it that said to us, I think it was off air, that said every administration for the last few years or few administrations that Apple, every time they come in, like, Apple's going to invest X in the United States. Is that true?
That was on air. That was Mike McKee.
Was it Mike McKee?
Yeah, yesterday.
Is that, like, have
Apple
they
said
always
repeatedly that they're going to do these
invest in the U.S.,
during
invest in
different
the U.S.?
administrations.
Yeah, but don't forget, they have to invest a certain amount in the U.S., the country that they build some components in, the country they operate in. You're going to, you throw your full R&D budget into that number. You're technically investing in the U.S. because you're designing the products in the U.S.
Is the new headquarters an investment in the United States?
Sure.
There we go.
Of course.
Check.
This headquarters, that store. These are all investments. The salaries, those are all investments. You just add those numbers up. It's called sustaining your business, and you have operating expenses anyways. And so I would say from a serious standpoint, like a lot of those numbers are based on things they're already investing in. They're just putting out a press release to appease, whether it was Obama, whether it was Biden. Now whether it was Trump last time or Trump this time.